Today's episode, guys.
Wow, what a day. We just wrapped up. We just said goodbye to Harrison. We're here in Sydney and we got him in very last minute to record an episode.
I'm never really speechless, but I tell you what, guys, my mind is reeling. I am feeling a lot of emotions. I can't believe a lot of the things that he said. And honestly, I'm really excited for you guys to actually hear this. I think it's going to make you guys think a lot, not only about Harrison, but a lot of the other characters this year that we saw on Maths. And it opened my eyes. My ears were open. I'm like,
yeah, I don't know. Like I say it in the interview. I said to Harrison, I'm like, I just don't know if it's really going to sway people's opinions because, you know, we have just sat and watched him for a good couple of months and we feel like we've really gotten to know him. And we always say it on the podcast, you know, to you guys, we always say you guys really did get to know us.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it really will sway some of your opinions. Look, it has swayed mine a little bit, not all the way or a lot, just a little bit.
It's because we have a lot more information about a lot of the things.
Other people as well.
Yeah. A lot of the things we saw, the context behind it. And then obviously with the actual facts that we have, you know, leaked messages, text messages, the voice memos. So it's a really interesting chat, guys.
And I also want to touch on what the fuck's been going down in our Facebook group. Guys, when we posted to ask for some questions, it got absolutely out of control.
Yeah.
And I didn't actually read all the comments. Dom and I were at an event when this was going down. And look, we'll be honest, we didn't think that it would cause so much drama. You know, our moderator, Amelia, was messaging us saying, like, this is a pretty gnarly situation. We had no idea it was going to get so out of control. We sort of just posted it and, you know, it is what it is.
I mean, we knew it was going to ruffle a few feathers when we you know, announced that we were going to have Harrison on. But I think it really did get taken out of hand here, guys. You know, the language that's been used, and I want to do a trigger warning before this episode, before we get into the chat with Harrison, because there is talk and the use of the language that, you know, might trigger some people. So I just want to preface this chat as well. But I really just do want to stress that if you are in the position to give this chat a listen, please do, because I really do think that it will broaden your perspective. And this is not to say that you're going to believe everything, because I don't. It's not going to say that it's going to sway your opinion and it's going to change your opinion, but it's going to make you think. And I think at the end of the day, if this chat can open your mind a little bit, it's not a bad thing.
But yeah, I totally agree with that. But I think we need to talk about, the Facebook group, because we've cut off members now from coming in. Because there was, you know, stuff going on. People were harassing our moderator from another group. People were sending screenshots to this other group. And we've spoken about this group before. And guys, we do not support what or who you are in our Facebook group sending screenshots and supporting and providing this bullshit. Like, it makes me angry. It makes me angry.
It boils my blood to think that someone that is volunteering their time to be a moderator in our group is getting attacked.
Yeah.
It's also going against copyright laws. So people that are taking content from our page onto another page
and posting it in a public platform or public forum
and using it as clout, as whatever.
Yeah.
It's not okay, and we will come for you. It's gonna come down on you, and it's not okay. And I just want, because I know people are going to be hearing and seeing this. So see me now.
It's just not cool, man. Like, I just don't understand why be a member of our Facebook group if you are not a listener. It's just, I don't know. Like,
or if you're listening just to get shit or
just
whatever.
To get, like, I don't know.
Who are you?
Gosh.
Like, what are you doing with your life?
But, like,
reassess, doll.
Surely, aren't we just past that now? Is this not just a platform where we can talk and share things but not come for each other? Like, it's just, it blows my mind. And we've cut members off now. There's no new members coming in for a while. We're going to keep it as it is.
We're not all going to like each other's thoughts and opinions, guys. Yeah. That's okay, because guess what? That's what society is. That's what living in an open and free world is. If we want to go and start stopping people from voicing their opinions, we're going to be living in a very oppressed society, and I can tell you right now, you ain't going to like it. So please keep that in your mind when you are writing something, when you are posting it online, because just think, guys, you would never say that to someone's face. And if you would, then you really got to reassess.
Yeah.
But let's get into the chat, because I honestly think, guys, you're going to be really surprised with what you're going to hear.
I was surprised. There's a lot to unpack. This is going to be probably broken into part 1, part 2 vibe, because it went for a lot longer.
It's a long one.
It's a long one. It went for a lot longer than planned.
Get comfortable.
Yeah.
Take the dog out for a walk.
Yeah. Get a drink, a coffee, tea, whatever it may be, and strap yourself in.
Strap yourselves in.
Very ominous walk in.
Yeah, does this take you back to maths days? You're just not mic'd up.
No, there wasn't a cool pool table at maths.
Come and take a seat. Look,
Sit with us.
only the best for us. You're
Am
sitting.
I being invited to sit with you?
I guess.
You actually are sitting with us, Harrison, Mr. Big Bad Wolf.
The big bad beast.
Well,
The big bad wolf enters the lion's den.
well, I mean, who'd win out of that? I think the lioness would fucking kill you and then maybe eat you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Welcome, Harrison.
Thank you. Thank you for being for having me and for being here yourself.
How do you feel about sitting with us right now?
Yeah, good. Good.
Are you like, what's the feelings? Are you nervous? Are you excited?
A little nervous.
Yeah.
A little nervous because I don't know what you guys are going to throw at me.
Yeah.
Like I've come here voluntarily.
Yep.
And I thought, yeah.
Voluntarily.
Yeah, my security forced me to be here.
Yeah,
No.
guys, I just want to make note that we did actually have a personal security guard. Jokes. Bronte wished that she had that, but she did not.
Claimed that she hadn't.
Yeah, we're gonna settle a few things today. I think it's gonna be interesting.
Good.
We're gonna hold you accountable. I know John Aiken likes to say that a lot on the couch, but I just want to preface this conversation with saying this isn't commercial radio. This isn't commercial TV. We can say what we want, how we want it to
We
you.
can actually murder him.
Yeah, I mean, there's no smashed glasses. There's not going to be any
nothing
knives
like
in the
that.
back. This is going to be a real honest chat.
Yeah.
And I'm really keen to
Yeah.
get
I think
down and dirty.
Yeah. And I think,
do it.
Everyone is viewers. Everyone's watching you right now. Everyone has a certain opinion of who you are.
Yeah.
Based on the show.
Based on the show. And as, I don't know if you know this, but Dom's always one that knows everything. I know nothing about what's going on, like articles. I don't know anything. I don't read any goss. So
But you've watched.
I've watched
You've watched the
maths.
show, yeah.
Yes, but I don't know really about
So
what's going on.
Well, that's good because I feel like then I'm talking to a viewer,
yeah.
right?
Yes.
Someone who's formed
Yeah.
an opinion
Yes.
based on the final cut of the show,
Yeah.
which is actually a good place to begin,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
Because as you know, sorry,
Yeah. No, and which is where all of our
I
listeners
hadn't
are.
finished speaking, Dom.
Let her speak.
Let him speak. I think there's going to be a lot of like my turn
Yeah,
today.
I think so.
We talk a lot, all of us.
Yeah.
Well, okay, just to finish what I was saying, I think it's good to talk to, say, someone who's in the viewer seat and then someone who's obviously had a bit more context behind the scenes as well,
Yeah.
right? Because Dom and I have had a couple of conversations off air.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I think that's good. It's a good mix, healthy. Watching as a viewer, I hate myself on the show. I'm like, this
Wow.
guy is a gaslighting, a narcissist, doesn't take any accountability. But you haven't seen so much.
Yeah.
And I think that's the thing I wanted to get to with yourselves as well, Dom and Ella. You both know how much gets filmed and then how much makes it to the final cut, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And did you feel at all when you watched your season back, were you like, man, this is not how this happened. That conversation didn't happen that way.
Yeah.
Was there any of that for you guys?
Well, I mean, with my relationship, I mean, there wasn't too much drama necessarily with me, but with my relationship, yes, they didn't show anything with Mitch and I. They only showed our fights. They didn't actually show
Interesting.
our relationship. We had like 2 or 3 fights in the experiment, and that's all they showed. They didn't show any of our good times.
So you feel like they were trying to portray a tumultuous relationship
Yes.
rather than a happy, like what you
We
would.
were happy like 90% of the time.
they were so happy. And I mean, Jack and I were as well, but they really did play on, I guess.
Well, you had so much more other things that
Yes.
overtook the relationship.
I mean, all of the drama that was happening in
surrounding
the
your
group.
relationship.
But
Yeah.
also, like, there were things that, and, Jack spoke about this when he came on the podcast, but he went through some tough mental times. And that kind of caused a bit of strain in our relationship early on, which then I looked like I was the one that needed more affection and everything, and he was like not giving me any affection. Then I was asking for sex, and he didn't want to have sex, and then people said that I was pressuring him, but really there was so much more happening. So that did happen, but we will get more into that. But we want to just know the real Harrison. Who are you? Where are you from? We know you're a dad.
It's always so weird when you get asked like, so tell us about yourself, and it's like, your mind just escapes you.
There's so much to say.
No, it is, and it's the shit. It's the hardest thing to.
It's so easy. Like if I was to ask to describe someone else, or even myself in third person, it's like so much easier. But when someone's like, stand up and tell us about yourself, it's like, do you remember like when you were in school and you're like the new kid, and they ask you to do that, and you stand up, and you're like, I don't know, I like stuff.
Yeah.
Well, this is pretty much that. Like, who are you? What's your name? Like
who am I? Well, I'm 33 now.
Yep.
I've been in the building industry over 10 years.
Yep.
And then when I started my apprenticeship, I was kind of like always looking, how can I make some extra cash on the side? And then I started hitting the gym, and I worked with one of my best mates, Kyle, and he was like, dude, I'm doing stripping on the weekend and I'm making all this extra cash. He's like, you're pretty fit, you're charismatic. Why don't you?
He was a stripper.
Yeah, he's like, why don't you come and do it on weekends with me? So he got me started, and then that just took off every weekend. I was actually making more on a weekend, getting paid to party on boats with chicks than I was at work. So that kind of like took over my life for probably 7 years. Wow. I was like building homes during the week and then home wrecking on the weekend.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That's going to be a fucking headline.
God. I'm delivering the headlines today.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was like kind of like a big part of my life. And funny enough, when you do that job, especially as a male, it really becomes kind of like your identity. You take on a certain persona. You like, you think you're God's gift.
Yeah.
And I think in a way, people think that's a byproduct of doing that job. It's not. You have to be that way, because when you go in to like a hen's party, chicks want a ripped, super confident alpha male.
Yeah. And you kind of have to be in charge.
It kind of develops, that job in itself develops some narcissism to an extent, if that makes sense.
I think as well, because you've done it for, like, I've got friends, males, females that are strippers, all the above. And you did it for 7 years. So it's basically embedded in you, who you are, to have that ego-driven confidence that people will misunderstand. But also,
I think that's a great point.
Well, it's it's a part of who you are, as much as you may not want it to be. That sort of level of confidence and big head vibe, like, oh, Harrison's got a big head on him, he thinks he's this, he's that. That's going to come with who you are because of what you've done, and because you did it for a really long time.
Yeah, because, I mean, let's be honest, you do give off, well, specifically on the show, you give off those big head, loves himself, fucking thinks he's God's gift.
That's who I was coming into the show.
Okay.
I'm not going to deny that. I've been quite open about it.
Yeah, and you have.
But you know what? Like, on the wedding night, on the wedding day or whatever, like, straight away it was like, this guy reckons his shit don't fucking stink.
Yeah.
Like,
it doesn't though.
Yeah.
It smells like Baker's Delight. It's weird. It comes out smelling like
God.
it's honestly like.
All right.
I don't need to know about what your shit smells like.
but seriously though,
like a freshly baked cinnamon roll.
Oh my God.
Did you think that acting like that, or portraying that character, did you realize though that when that was aired, people would be like, oh, fuck this bloke? Like, no one likes a big-headed, you know what I mean?
I think people mistake my sense of humor, which is kind of a bit of, I play into that, but I'm really taking the piss out of myself. But people misunderstand that, especially like there was a few times I saw on the show, I couldn't give you a specific example, but I remember watching the show and I would say like, women think I'm hot. And then they wouldn't capture, or they purposely wouldn't show the part about me going, that's a joke, guys. Like, come on, I can't say that. Or I'm uncomfortable saying that. Or like, if you saw it was interesting. I watched my audition tape where I'm like, if you squint, I'm kind of good looking. You know what I mean? Like, that's my humor. I'm taking the piss out of myself. Whereas on the show, they're like, I think I'm hot, and I'm carrying the big bit of timber in. I was like, oh, this is cringe. Stop it. Stop it. But that's a producer's dream, right?
It's you are a producer's dream. Okay, let's start there.
Yeah.
But I want to know the Harrison that's the carpenter, the builder, the dad. Tell us about that side of you.
I actually matched with the mother of my child now on Tinder. And so for everyone that thinks that I'm just a fuckboy, here's a story for you. So I was dating around and matched with this girl on Tinder, and we started chatting, and we just had like this instant sort of chemistry. And then I remember on our first date, she pulled up out the front of my house, and we were walking out to get in my car, and I'd organized like this cute little date with like a picnic, and we were going to go on rowboats, and it was like something out of the Notebook. I kind of like went all out for this girl. I was like, oh, there's something special here.
And how long
I kind of
ago
feel
was
this was like 4 years ago, and 5 years ago maybe, and I was like, oh, there's something special here. I feel a bit of chemistry. And she got out of the car, and I just felt all of the oxygen leave my body. And I was just like, this is love at first sight. And I actually called. So I purposely asked her to go in and pick up lunch that I'd ordered on my phone out of the car. And when she was out of the car picking up the lunch, I rang my mum and I was like, Mum, this is the girl I'm going to marry. And Mum's like, you have never spoken like this about a girl. Like, are you on drugs? And I was like, no, like I'm going to marry this girl. And a year later we were engaged. And a year after that, we'd had our son.
So did you ever get married?
No, we didn't. No. So we were engaged for a year or two. August was 1 when we split up. It was sort of like the middle of COVID. You know, work was really hard to come by, especially as a subcontractor. Yeah. So I was kind of like doing any job that I could. I worked for a bunch of people that I regret, but I just took work to keep a roof over our head. And that strain really put a lot of pressure on our relationship. And, you know, my ex was a stay-at-home mom, didn't have a lot of like, you know how some people are a self-starter? She just didn't have that in her. Like she's someone that needs someone to give her stuff and then she can run with it. Right. And I just wasn't in a position to set her up with a business or anything like that. Like I was just preoccupied with keeping a roof over our head. Yeah. And, you know, I was working 10, 12 hours a day, and I stopped going to the gym, and I was just really preoccupied with being a dad and trying to provide for us. And I think the pressure of me being away a lot and what it was doing to our relationship, she just went looking for love and affection elsewhere. So, yeah, it was pretty tough. We had a big I came home one day and she was like, look, I can't do this. I need a break. And that's when, you know, in the process of sort of helping her move out of our shared house, I went on her computer just to send some work invoicing. And, you know, the Instagram icon popped up, and that's when I read all the messages to some other guy, and I found out that she'd been cheating on me.
Right. So
wow. Okay.
That's hectic. And that would have been shit at the time, obviously having such a young baby.
Yeah, like it was pretty shit because as a 30-year-old guy who's now a single parent, I have to re-enter the dating marketplace and really reinvent myself because I'd been, as I said, you take on a lot of things in your life that form your identity. And for me, being a dad and a family man, that had started to form my identity. And now all of a sudden I'm single again. And it's like, I've got to try and rekindle those fuckboy vibes. Do you know what I mean? Because it's like, well, you're 30, you're in the prime of your life, arguably. Yeah. You're now single again. And the only thing I was preoccupied with was making money, setting myself up, and, you know, dating around. And so I wasn't really prepared to get hurt again either. I went into the dating pool very, very, very selfishly. I went in there specifically to get what I wanted out of situations, and I did not want to put myself in a position where I could fall for a girl again.
Do you think you fell back into a fuckboy stage after your breakup?
Yes, yeah, but I did it consciously. I knew what I was doing, and I didn't. Like I said, I'd given everything of myself to one person. Yeah. That hadn't worked out, and in a way, I was kind of bitter.
It's almost like self-destructive mode. It's like, I'm going to go out there now, basically, you know, get what I want, as you said, just like have one night stands, probably not treat women with the utmost respect, and just have fun, be a fuckboy.
I mean, it was
all consensual. It's not like,
I mean, you hope so.
We've spoken about this on the podcast. I know when I went through my breakup, I spoke about how I went through my fuck girl stage. I mean, you do. You're out there again.
100%.
You have to. I think to a certain extent you need to get it out of your system. And this does come into play, I guess, going into maths. So, you know, you were in your fuckboy stage.
I was.
And you applied for maths.
But I'd been doing it for 2 years. So I was
can I ask, just before we move on to getting into maths, your ex-girlfriend, the fiance, the mother of your child, are you, like, for you to tell us what happened and, you know, to share how you found that she was cheating on you or whatever, like, is she going to be mad that you've spoken about that on a public forum and shared that information?
I mean, potentially, but we we have a good relationship.
Yeah.
And I'm going to tell my story.
Yeah.
She has a completely different version of events, but, she cheated on the guy before me as well in her previous relationship with a married man for like over a year.
Okay.
So funny enough, Alyssa has a very similar story to my ex.
So before you, she was in a relationship and she was cheating on that guy
with a married man. Yeah,
okay.
and it was in a small town, so like everyone kind of knew about it.
And did you know when you started dating her?
I didn't know until I actually didn't find out about this until the weekend. So we were living together for 3 months, and then the weekend I drove out to see her parents to ask their permission to marry her. That's when all of this came out, and I was like, "Well, you should have told me this months ago." Like. Before we moved in together, I should have found this out about you. Now it's like I've kind of fallen for you, and I'm purchasing an engagement ring, and I'm going to ask your parents to marry you. Like it was kind of like too late.
So is there a chance that your ex-fiance will come out once this episode goes live and says everything you're saying is a load?
Oh, she's welcome to, but I can provide my evidence as well.
Okay. So is she like, is there a chance that she's going to come out and say this is all a lie?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, but that's her natural state of being is to try and lie and cover up and delete things and say it never happened. She did that with the boyfriend. The only reason she came clean in the end was because the wife of the married man threatened her and said, if you don't tell people, I'm going to.
Right.
Then she came clean. And it was the same in our relationship. It's like I've seen the messages. I know what was going on. You guys have a pre-existing relationship. It was her high school boyfriend that she cheated on me with. So the evidence is there.
Wow. Right.
Yeah. So I mean, she could come out and say what she likes. I know the truth. She knows the truth. She'll never admit it. So
it's interesting. I mean, we don't know who this person is.
No,
I'm not going to name this person.
No, of course. And it's the mother of your son.
Yeah,
like you don't want to start shit like that. But it's interesting. Like she hasn't come out and said anything to either like
anyone
agree or disagree with, I guess, your behavior on the show either.
Yeah. I've protected her in the media because I didn't want her named. And I still don't. I still don't want her named. But this is my story. This is who I am.
And I mean, that's completely...
And people don't have this side of me, right? They just think that I was a heartless fuckboy for no reason.
Well,
No, there was a reason. I had my heart broken. I worshipped the ground she walked on. She was the love of my life, and she broke my heart. So, yeah, there's a side of me that people don't see.
Right. Are you getting emotional right now?
I am, yeah. I actually struggle to talk when I get emotional. Like, that was the single hardest thing I've ever been through, because not only did I find out that the person I was deeply in love with, just didn't feel that way about me and was actively looking elsewhere. In the process of that breakup, I had my son taken halfway across the state. And that was the single hardest thing I've ever been through in my life. I promised myself I wouldn't cry.
That's all right. I think, people that have children, I guess, will understand. And it's interesting,
it's really hard right now watching Harrison cry because for some reason I'm just not feeling it. I don't know what it is. Like I think because I'm a viewer, right? I've seen him on maths and I've seen him get emotional on television.
Yeah.
And everybody called it like fake and not real. And like for some reason, I'm just not feeling the emotion. Like I can see obviously you're crying, like there's tears in your eyes, but I don't know, like it's so hard for me right now to some extent believe the emotion. Like you're sitting in front of me right now crying and I saw it on TV and everybody saw it. And like, I'm wondering, did the viewers feel like that your emotion was real on maths? Because even right now I'm sitting here and I don't feel like it's real.
And it's really interesting because
I don't want to don't take this the wrong way, but I almost was
How could I not be insulted by you saying that my feelings aren't real?
No, I know, but it's like, what did you?
Well, this is the really interesting thing because I really do think that people would have expected me to come into this and been an absolute cunt to him and being like, nah, you're fucking fake, Harrison. But honestly, I'm going to say that...
Well, you've spoken to him a lot more than me.
But also, Alyssa was the exact same when she spoke about her child. We didn't hear Harrison speak about his child at all on the show. Okay?
Yeah.
And I'm sure that if you did speak about your child and you did say, my child got taken away from me half the state away.
Yeah.
And I reckon he would have got emotional. We saw Alyssa speak about her child and she got visibly so emotional that she walked out.
Yeah.
And we call her emotional. but we see a man like, and I completely get it. Like, and we'll get to the point where Harrison, you know, he would, and I think he will admit that he played it up, and we've already heard him say that. So I understand why Ella's saying that, Harrison.
Did you ever talk more about your child that we didn't see on the show? Oh, not really. That wasn't really like your story.
I explained a lot of this in the task where we write each other a letter.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I explained all of this to Bronte. No, there's 99% of the show you don't see.
Right.
Right. I think anything that humanized me or showed my funny side or any depth to me as a person was completely edited out. And also any problems I had in the relationship were all edited out. It was all, I'm going to be honest, I think watching the show this season, it was told completely from Bronte's perspective. Right. Anything that made her look bad or where I called her out for a lying or said this is my issue in the relationship was minimized or completely eradicated. And this like last night watching the dinner party that was on TV last night, that was all from Bronte's perspective. Yeah. And they actually like it's annoying that I pick up on the editing and other people wouldn't know.
Yeah.
Right? So when Bronte got up and left the table and then came back in, she'd been crying in the other room with Lyndall for like 20 minutes. And the reason she'd been crying is because I called her out in front of the entire table for all the lies she'd told through the experiment. And she admitted in front of the entire table that lying and talking bad about her partner was a pattern she had repeated in previous relationships. And that was like the boom. Yeah. Everyone's going to see Bronte in her true colors. Yeah. And she's going to be painted as the villain this year. We don't see any of that.
Right.
Like we don't see any of the lying, any of her gaslighting me, none of it. It's all been cut and we see the entire thing. Even when she left the room, you just see me sitting there going, you know, that is not what happened. They've edited that look from probably when she first walked in. And when I put my hands up to my face, it's just all editing tricks.
Like we know that they might show a face that happened at the start of the night. Yeah, we know that.
That shit does annoy me. I will say that's fucked.
Why can't they just show it how it happened?
Yeah.
Like the truth is actually more entertaining than the editing.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny to me that they keep like knowing, and we're going to get to the leaked voice messages, the text messages and everything, right? It's funny that information is so available to everyone that she's clearly lied. She's a load of shit. And I'm not giving you or Bronte a
free pass
here. You know what I mean? And and I've told Harrison this before heading into this. But it's funny that the production still supported her side.
They didn't know about any of this. If producers knew about the voiced messages and the leaked text messages, and now with these false claims of domestic violence on the set of Maths, if they'd known, like if they'd seen this, I tried to tell everyone.
Yeah.
I was like, this woman is gaslighting the shit out of me. I'm in a coercive controlled relationship. I'm the one being lied to constantly. Like, here's the evidence. But all I had was conversations that occurred between the two of us. A lot of stuff off camera. And producers can't use that. But if you watch the show now, if you were to go back and watch from day one now, knowing what we know that's been leaked to the media, you will clearly see a relationship where I am the one being
and you'd watch it with different eyes.
I am the one being gaslit.
Yes, you would be watching it from a very different perspective if you went back now.
Thank you.
And knowing everything that we know.
That's a fact.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, guys, that is a fact, all right, at the end of the day. Yeah, still, there's going to be some things that we don't like about you. The way you spoke about Melinda's plastic surgery or some of the bullshit things that you said.
I do deeply regret saying that.
We're going to get to that properly.
Yeah. Because I don't think that was an appropriate comment.
Yeah, good. And we're going to get to that. But I think we're going to start with Bronte because, you know, it did feel like from our perspective that there were things that we didn't see a lot of. I feel like we didn't see any of your relationship. We didn't see any of your living in that apartment at all.
How long did you actually, because they did no wake-ups.
Bro, never.
They did not long wake up.
We didn't see you ever wake up in the same bed, go to sleep in the same bed.
Because we did that, like, we had morning wake-ups every morning. They would come in, film you having coffee in bed.
Yeah.
Like making a tea,
talking
making a
about
coffee.
what happened.
But in bed.
It was weird. We did film the wake-ups and it was awkward because I was always sandwiched between Bronte's bodyguards and Bronte.
As in the pillows?
As in the pillows.
The pillows in the bed.
Over Ella's head, that joke.
Yeah, but this is Ella's head. It'll go over. But totally. But it was bullshit. So, yeah, what, did she have a fucking pillow? Like, I mean...
No, it was actually funny. The first night after we got married, we go back to the hotel room and we slept together. And it was the worst night's sleep of my life because Bronte's like, this is how I sleep. And she put this eye mask on and these earplugs in and then turned this phone app up to like full volume. And it was like the sound of raindrops.
Oh.
And she's like, this is how I need to sleep. And I was like, are you insane? Like, this is like... It was like sleeping next to a thunderstorm, but it was like calming raindrop sounds because it was so fucking loud.
Yeah.
It was like sleeping in like a monsoon. And I was just like, there is no chance I can sleep. So we almost never slept in the same bed. We did for like large portions because towards the end I actually got used to it. She would turn the volume down as like kind of a concession for our relationship and I would try and sleep with it.
Yeah.
And it was funny when I got back home from the experiment, I had to turn the fan on to have some white noise because I kind of got used to it. Yeah, and I've slowly weaned off that now.
So how long did you actually sleep in the same room or in that apartment? Because that was mine and Jack's apartment, by the way.
So I'd say 2 weeks before couples retreat, we were sleeping every day in the same bed. And then after couples retreat, it sort of was touch and go depending on the day. We would be good for a couple of days and then not good. And then it just kind of was like the wheels were falling off the relationship after couples retreat.
It was just like kind of putting a Band-Aid on like a sinking ship and hoping that it would just stick and you wouldn't fucking sink. But you
a lot of people don't see the conversations I'd have with Bronte. Like there was a dinner party where I'm like unequivocally, no, I'm going to write leave. I'm going home.
Yes. And you did say that.
I did say that. Yeah. But I said that at the start of the night. And then it was funny. We went around the table and everyone's relationship was fucked. Everyone was fighting. And I was like, well, these people are struggling to make this work in this environment, but they're not giving up on each other.
Yeah.
So why am I throwing in the towel for someone where, yes, it's a massive move, Perth to Sydney. She's probably not 100% sure about it. So why am I throwing in the towel based on her? She might just be trepidatious and kind of nervous about really committing at this point. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to see this through to the end. And yeah, my mum was a big proponent of, we've been happily married for 35 years. If we gave up every time there was a little hiccup or we didn't agree, we would have broken up in week 1.
Yeah. I agree with that. My parents are the exact same.
Yeah.
Like 1 second they're fighting, they hate each other, mum wants a divorce, next minute they love each other. So I get that too. And I really do understand in the experiment, everything is so fucking pressured and it is so hard. And it's like 1 second, it's like, I want to leave. I can't deal with this. And then it's like, well, hang on, I've given up everything to be here. Why don't we push through this?
Well, exactly. And one of the biggest criticisms, it's like, oh, you stayed for an extra 5 minutes of fame. Like, bro, I've blown up this experiment. I've come in like a fucking wrecking ball. I don't have anything left to prove. I'm staying because I want to see if this relationship works. An extra 2 weeks on a TV show makes fuck all difference to like what an extra 100 followers on Instagram. Like that's not why I stayed. I stayed because leaving was fucking easy. Leaving was cowardly. Leaving was everything people were accusing me of. And so in a defiant kind of, no, I'm going to see this through, I stayed. It had fuck all to do with wanting to get extra fame or drag out the experiment or get extra followers.
Very much, like at the start, you were very much like leaving, right? Like you were calling it off or whatever. Yeah. Like at the start, I'm trying to remember now because I feel like so much has happened.
So much has fucking happened.
So week 1, I wrote leave.
That's right. And you like moved out and it looked like or seemed like you were kind of always leaving. But then when it really came down to making the decision on the couch because you would write stay and you would continue to stay and the behavior was getting worse and more toxic, that's why everyone's like, why the fuck is he staying? Like he wants more airtime.
Well, I don't think I ever really complained. Look, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't ever really think that I complained about Bronte as much as she complained about me and she wrote stay every week. I was always like, yeah, I mean, Bronte has everything that I'm looking for in a partner and some things that I'm not, but the relationship could actually work. I just don't trust that she's in it as much as I am.
Did you really ever think that relationship would work or could work, honestly? You
can ring my mum. You could ring my friends. I was like, yeah, like this is going to work. This is something that I want. I want this girl to move for me. You could ask any of the people that I was in contact with during the experiment. They'll tell you like there were stages where I was 100% in, like really serious about this girl.
And we need to get down to the bottom of where that changed. But I first want to start at the honeymoon because the honeymoon pissed me off something bad because I feel like we didn't see anything.
Yeah. I know. I know.
It was like good, and then it flipped, and I'm like, whoa, bro.
And it was just like
she's
really
it was
weird.
really
hard to watch.
She hated you.
Yeah.
You were like off her. It was weird.
One of the worst things of the honeymoon was, and this is where I feel like I've just gotten this absolutely terrible like gaslighter, narcissist edit, is one of the things on the honeymoon that really, really pissed me off is they showed me talking about something and then gave no context. So I said, I don't know what's with these hysterics. And Bronte was calm. They don't show her flipping out at the table and walking off. Okay. They don't show her so many arguments we had on the honeymoon where I could tell she was doing this for the cameras, like 100%. You don't have a normal conversation with someone and then they flip out and fucking act like the world is ending.
I mean, for us, it was obvious at times where she was clearly putting it on for the cameras. It's very obvious.
Like, oh my God.
Us as viewers definitely can see that.
Yeah, but you hadn't seen it up to that point. You hadn't seen it.
Yes, you're right. So you're saying from that point, that's where the storyline
can I give you an example?
switched.
I'll give you two very quick examples.
Yeah.
First night we were there, I lit this massive bonfire on this lake and we had these couple of glasses of wine. It was like something out of a movie. And I thought, oh, this is great. This will easily make it to camera. This is so picture perfect. These two people that are like trying to, like have a real honeymoon.
Yeah.
And we sit down and Bronte just launches into like this 45-minute tirade of like this ex-partner that she had and a terrible relationship. And like, while all of that stuff's valid, I'm like, Bronte, we're on our honeymoon. Like, this is not appropriate time to be bringing up the exes. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know you. I want to get to know you. Not like, I don't want to sit here and listen to like a 45-minute TED talk on, previous relationships. And it just kind of felt like she was trying to throw an ex under the bus.
Right.
And then at the end of the conversation, she turns to the producer and goes, was that good? And I was like, what? Was all of that just for camera or was that?
What?
Yeah. She turns to the producer and goes, was that good? Or do you want to? And I was like, what? That's not how you end a conversation with someone. Oh my
God, Bronte,
and then, so that was that launched into a massive blow up, stormed off. I can't believe you caught like trying to say that I'm disingenuous.
Wait, what? I wouldn't have even thought on set or ever to ask my producer.
Dude, it's not about doing anything good. It's
not about doing a good job, about telling a story.
This is the first time I've ever had that validated, and I can't believe it's coming from you two.
What? Dude, I could not imagine being on set being like, Barthy, was that good? Was that dramatic enough?
Yeah, it was like
Jackie,
she was asking.
Do I need to do that again?
What? Yeah. It was like, was that a good take? Like,
oh fuck, bro.
That's wild.
And I've said it from the start that she's like a D-list, like wants to be on Home and Away, dude.
Well, the next story is just as good. So we're in the car, and you know how when they drive us around, they set up the GoPros and you're mic'd up, and we're en route to like this like surprise date. And the producers were like, you've got to tell Bronte you've organised it and we'll tell you why later. And I'm like, okay. So I said to Bronte, no, I've organised another date for us. Let's go have some fun. And this was so interesting. We're in the car. And again, it's a shame that none of this gets seen because I think it would have actually made great television. But again, anything that made Bronte look bad was cut. So we're in the car and, we're driving and Bronte's like, my dad's always been a car guy. He's got classic cars. I've grown up around cars. I love cars. And we sort of were chatting back and forth for about half an hour, 40 minutes on the way. And we pull in and it's a go-kart track. And I'm like, yes, we're going to race go-karts. Like, you've just finished telling me how you love cars.
Yeah.
Let's get out there and have some fun. And Bronte's like, oh, I'm a bit nervous. And then we get to the front desk and Bronte's like, oh, I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this. And I'm like, bro, like we've got the whole track to ourselves. You can just go as hard or as soft as you want. We'll just get out there and putt around and have some fun. Like, don't worry. Nothing bad's going to happen. And then after the producers got our tickets and we're getting, I think we're getting demiked because they couldn't get audio in the cars. There's no point. It's too loud and stuff. So we're getting demiked. And, we're sort of in like this crowded sort of waiting room to go onto the track. And they're bringing us our helmets and all this sort of stuff. And Bronte has a complete, I could only describe as like a mental breakdown. She sat on the floor like in a tantrum, like shouting, I don't want to do this. Oh. And I was like, what is going on? And so the producers like, just go wait over there. And they took Bronte with the camera crew around the back of the go-kart, like the sort of the place, the building where you pay for your tickets next to the track.
Yeah.
And she did like what I can only describe as like a 20-minute voxy where she was just shouting at the camera. And I was just like, what is with this girl? It's just all for TV.
Did you ask her why she was upset or what happened or why?
At that point, I was just like, you know what I mean? I didn't want to get involved.
But like, we didn't see that though, did we?
No, we didn't see anything about you going to go-karts at all.
That's what I'm saying. Anything that like was just over, like
But
anything that fitted,
What was it fitzing about?
What was she even getting mad about?
I have no idea. To this, I never talked to her about it. I was just like, this is. I just. She was like, I'm just overexhausted. I kind of just want to get back to Sydney. I just want to kind of get out of here. And I was like, bro, it's been 3 days. Like, we had another argument that night when we got home, and she's like, she's like, yeah, I just can't do this. And I'm like, Bronte, it's 3 days into our relationship, right? Like, what can't you do? And she's like, I'm just at my wit's end. I don't have anything left to give. And I was just like, I just don't understand. Like, it was like she was causing these fights to get on camera.
So, and things are coming back to me now. So you've been married at this point.
3 days. 3 days, yeah.
It's 3 days in.
3 days in.
But at this point, stuff had been leaked, right? That she knew who you were.
Well,
No, that never came out until after the
when
show
we're
was filmed.
when we're watching it, we know that she knows you.
Now we're like, okay,
now
she knows
you know.
on Hinge.
I
and
never
everything.
knew.
Yeah.
I never knew this.
When you were in the experiment, you didn't know, right? But
No.
we're watching it and we've heard, okay, Bronte knows who Harrison is. So maybe this is why it makes sense that she was behaving this way, because she knew who you were.
With the leaked voice messages.
She was done. She was 3
Which
days
we're
in, she's
going to
like, "Fuck
play
this."
now.
No, I think everything she did, she was playing up for the cameras exactly like she said she was going to in those voice messages.
And we're going to listen to them now.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I can't stand this voice.
I'm actually triggered.
I'm fucking triggered by her voice.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Like, what am I supposed to do? Like, if like one of the other girls gets him.
Bro, you're going to get him.
Oh my God, I'm dead. 21. That's 9 years younger than me. 8 years. I can't do math. What the Well, you know what? If he is my match, I'm going to fucking play that to my advantage. Like, holy shit. Oh my God. And I can't wait. If he is my match, I'm going to tell Kira to be an absolute to him.
I'm going to tell Kira to be an absolute.
Was Kira the girl?
I will literally like play this up like crazy. Like, I reckon I would actually confront him when we're in private and just like, by the way, like, I actually know why you're here. Like, if you're wanting to just like, I guess,
Day 2 of the honeymoon.
play this on, that's fine. But like, we can just be friends.
That's when
but
she
for the
gave me
cameras, we can obviously put on a show. Because if I do get this guy, like, I'm not going to
Put
be
on a
able to
show.
like him because I know what he's like.
Put on a show, yeah.
So
This
it makes sense though, right? She said this before going on the show. She's seen you at the wedding. She knows who you are, exactly who
Well,
you
I
are.
didn't know any of this. I didn't know
Right.
any of this had happened.
But it makes sense why she was behaving and, throwing tantrums, because she knew who you were. She couldn't do it. She was like, she literally couldn't do it. She knew this whole time. You didn't.
Ali from the Daily Mail, who broke the story, he's had a lot of communication with Jess, who leaked this stuff about Bronte, the girl from the wedding.
Yep.
And Ali's like,
Which one was Jess at the wedding?
the pink dress,
Pink
I
dress.
think, orange dress. I can't remember.
Yeah.
Yep.
He was like, no, I've had a lot of conversations with Jess, and she's like, Jess told her everything about you, your name, where you lived, who you were. Like, Bronte knew. She had the full blueprint of who I
It
was.
makes so much sense though.
Well, it does
she
make
gets to
sense.
the honeymoon and she's like, I can't do this. And
Yeah,
and
she's
Harrison's
freaking
like,
out.
I've
what the
heard
fuck?
interviews where Bronte's like, I knew a guy of Harrison's nature. Like, and
But-
I'm like, that's just admit that you
did
knew.
Bronte voice really well there.
All you have to do is an
Nature?
annoying upward inflection at the end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
So she knew who you were, and then a few days in, she's like, let's play it up, let's fake it, whatever, right?
Yeah, but I was like, I'm not here for that. Like,
Yeah.
I don't.
So you're like, what the fuck's going
I
on?
told my
also-
producer, and she was like, everyone has these chats, just let it ride.
So she said to you, I want to put this, let's get this straight.
Everyone has these chats.
Bro, I didn't have that chat.
Bro, I was like obsessed with my husband.
I want to put it on the record
I'm jealous
now.
of you then.
Harrison,
That's so wild that people have those
Harrison,
chats.
did Bronte say to you on the honeymoon, let's fake this or let's play this up?
Yeah,
let's-
she offered that option to me, yes.
But what do you mean offered the option? Is it like, let's do this or leave?
Oh, I can't remember word for word the exact
yeah, that's
conversation, but it was along the lines of like, Brent and Tamara did it, they just sort of wrote it all out. And I was kind of like, well, they hated each other. Like they wrote stay every week, but
Yeah, it
they
was
hated
clear
each other.
they
Like
couldn't stand each other.
that was the fakest relationship ever. And she's like, yeah, but look where they're at now and all this sort of stuff. And I was like,
Where are they at now?
Where
Well, and it comes back to the fact that I know for a fact that Brent has been hitting Bronte up.
Wait, I had another question before we move.
Just real quick. Yeah. He's been hitting her up to go and do a photo shoot on the beach.
We've heard about that.
I'm like, bro, you have a girlfriend.
We've heard about that. But also, my question is, the wedding, Bronte knew who you were, right? She knew who you were, but also you knew who she was. Because you'd matched before.
Yeah, but I matched with like a lot of girls. It's how would I know? How would I know to look back?
You'd spoken to her. Surely you would have remembered her face.
Do you want to go through? If I could download my old Hinge back and you could go through all of the girls I've sent messages to, it's like that's ridiculous.
I'll give him the benefit of the doubt there
because
when I'm on dating apps,
see, I haven't done dating apps, so I don't know.
Like someone said to me, "Hey, that girl could be your wife."
Yeah,
then I would know who she is.
And it's not like
you're going to forget that shit, right?
Yeah. No, you're right.
Okay.
I want to get to what happened at the honeymoon in terms of intimacy.
Oh, yes.
What happened there? Because there was a wig out. There was a fucking conversation that happened at a table.
You had sex and then she was like, nah.
Yeah, what happened?
The morning after.
That's her version of events.
Okay.
I was the one that stopped the sex both times. I was like, I'm just not into this. Like, and I explained on the couch at our first commitment ceremony, I felt pressure to perform because, I'd come in, I was like this, big alpha male kind of like, that's how I was being portrayed. And I just felt like I have to perform sexually to create a bond, to show this girl I like her, like all of the things that guys go through when they're trying to impress a girl, right?
Okay.
And I just forced it in the moment. We'd been out. This was after the night where the whole like, was that good that night?
Oh.
That had a big blow up, and then we went back to our room, and then like it was funny. Bronte initiated the sex, and then I was like, we started, and I was like, I'm just stressed.
Yeah.
I'm just stressed.
Yeah.
And then in the morning again, we started kissing, and we were getting intimate, and then it just kind of happened, and then I was just like, I just couldn't. And then we did wake ups, and then we went for breakfast, and we were actually okay for most of that day until we got to the go-kart track, and then then it all
was
fell
it
to
that
shit
you
again.
just couldn't get it up, or you just
no, I could. I just wasn't into it. I just wasn't. I just didn't.
Because you said that you weren't sexually attracted to her.
Do you want to know what the core issue was?
Yeah, of course we fucking do.
I didn't trust her.
But at this point, it's early days. What had she done?
My gut.
Yeah.
It's just something was off. I just never really trusted Bronte. That was the core of our relationship issue. Was I always felt like she was being fake, and I never trusted her. That was always at the core of the issue for me. The things she would say, how she would act, finding out what she's been saying about me behind my back to other people that then got back to me. Like I was just like, well,
as in cast members.
Yeah. So there was.
I mean, she did it to you at the retreat too. She was going around saying shit that you had supposedly said to Melinda and Lane, but it actually wasn't like that.
That happened all the time.
Yeah. And
I was actually surprised they showed that. I was actually surprised they showed that.
I was really surprised as well that they showed that, because I think that was a big deal. I don't know why that wasn't like
for her personality.
Yeah, that was like, whoa, okay, Bronte, this is bad.
It was more like something's up with this chick.
It was that for 10 weeks. And you don't see any of it.
Yeah.
So, for example, do you remember the first big fight we have where she calls me a narcissist and accuses me of gaslighting her? They purposely cut half of that argument out. And the Voxy that I do afterwards, which is the interview for people that don't know, I'm in a white Country Road shirt, I think. And in the Voxy, I'm like jumping all around the room because they've cut so much of the Voxy out, and I was sort of like pacing around, that I'm like copy pasted everywhere. And the reason that they've had to cut that is because they've given all of the bits of speech in a sentence where I'm not actually talking about why I have that problem with her.
Right.
So I sent a text message 2 or 3 days before the commitment ceremony where I was like, I'm not going anywhere.
Oh, that's right.
But we were living in separate apartments after we got back from the honeymoon. And
this is the balcony scene.
This is the balcony scene.
The balcony scene.
Yeah, this is balcony.
So she was just ignoring me. She was like doing a Claire, which is basically like saying to the producers, I can't live with him, and just kind of like keeping it as, neighbors almost in separate apartments.
Yeah.
I was bringing her a coffee every day. I was saying, hey, do you want to go for a walk? Do you want to spend like 5 minutes together? Like just the two of us. She would not speak to me or talk to me unless it was on camera. And then I was just like, I'm over this. So I actually knocked on her door behind production's back. I went and knocked on her door and said, hey, look, can I just come in? I bought your coffee. came in, and then and that's when I said, look, I'm gonna write leave at this commitment ceremony. I'm like, this is not what I came here for. Just on the back of the honeymoon, all of the shit that we went through, that conversation about faking it, I was just like, that's not what I came here for. And I was actually scared that if we did try and fake it, production would sniff that out. And so I was like, look, they did.
They did with you. Yeah, eventually.
Yeah.
And so, ironically, that's when we were actually real.
Right.
So, anyway, and she goes, okay. And I put it on her. I'm like, if you want to stay in this relationship, it's on you. You need to show me. That's what you can hear me talking about it at dinner parties and stuff, where I'm like, Bronte needs to show me she's in this.
You did say this.
Yeah, but there's no context.
Yeah, there is no context. You're right.
Yeah.
Anyway,
it's like, hang on, she's showing you. Everyone.
That's the gaslight edit.
Yeah.
They're showing what I'm saying, no context.
Yeah.
So it looks like I'm turning it around on her, going, you need to prove it to me.
And that's
but
why
she did need to prove it to me. Right?
Yeah.
So,
but that's because of what you said off camera.
Correct.
So
they couldn't use it. They couldn't use it.
Of course they can't use it. And this is why
But they could have shown
messy.
my voxies where I'm like, yeah, I talked about it the day of the commitment ceremony. So this is no surprise to her that I was writing leave. So when we sat down on the balcony and she starts going, you said you weren't going anywhere. And I'm like, Bronte, that's void. We spoke yesterday morning and I said I was writing leave, and her face was like, because she didn't expect me to drop an off-camera chat into but they can't show it. You know why they can't show it? Because they don't like the idea of participants making deals or talking about plans for the commitment ceremony. That was my fuck up. I should have texted her and said I'm running leave.
Yes.
I should have. That's why later on down the track, when everyone's like, why'd you break up with Bronte over text? That's why I did that, was to have some sort of record.
Writing.
So she couldn't twist that again. So she couldn't twist it again.
Yeah.
And I'm not the one that broke up with Bronte. She said, I want to leave and I want to go home. That's breaking up with someone. That's the breakup. The text message confirming it is not the breakup, no matter how much she tried to play the victim.
Because there is a real victim villain mentality in this season. Like it's, and I know like a lot of people in our Facebook group, there was a lot of talk, like when we kind of hinted, and asked for questions that we were getting you, there was a lot of talk, like why would we give someone like you, Harrison, a platform
to speak,
you know.
But again, this is coming from people who have just watched you on the show.
Yeah.
Which coming into this interview with Dom and I, that's very much where my head's at too, because I'm more so a viewer than Dom is, and I haven't heard anything that's been going on. So I'm very much as well like, I understand where our group's coming from because they've only seen what they've seen.
And understanding where they're coming from, right? It was like, why are you going to give this and I just want to preface this by saying, calling someone these words, there's a lot here, right? These words are very loaded. I think
they get used every year.
They get used every year, and these words are thrown around a lot. Okay,
who was the narcissist on our season? Was it my husband? That's what he was being called, wasn't it?
Yeah, but I think
I liked Mitch.
I mean, I liked him too.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, but I liked him too. I didn't see that he was I'd never been gaslit before, right? I didn't even know what the term was.
Okay, but anyway. Gaslighting, narcissistic, coercive control, all of these words, this language is overused, and I think it gets taken out of context, and it gets.
Can we just establish? Should we establish what it is?
Well, I just want to finish what I was saying. It invalidates.
I told you what happened.
It invalidates women in the real world that are actually dealing with this on a daily basis.
Yes.
And I think that's why a lot of people were getting upset in the group that we were getting someone like Harrison on, who is, coercive, controlling, and narcissistic and gaslighting, and is controlling.
But I don't take any of that shit personally now, because I see that they've edited me so much on the show that it's impossible for me to take it personally, because I actually see myself as a caricature. I see myself as playing a character on that show now.
Yeah.
And the good thing is that it does start the conversation. Women can come forward and say, I've been in an abusive relationship or a coercive controlled relationship or whatever it happens to be with a guy that did that to me. And they're doing that based on the edit of the show.
Yeah.
And I actually think that's amazing, because this show serves as a sounding board to society where people can say, I've had that happen to me.
It does, and that's what it happened with our season.
That's what happened with
we're gonna show a clip now, and this is gonna really highlight, I guess, why people have jumped on you, calling you cocky, narcissistic, you know, all of these kind of things. So we're going to watch
this first commitment ceremony?
I don't know.
Let's play it.
Let's play it.
These last few weeks have just been so rough for the both of us, not just for me.
She shits me. Yeah,
Same.
It hasn't actually been that bad for me, if I'm being honest.
See, here we go in the music as well.
I haven't really seen Bronte for a couple of weeks, so it's kind of been like a holiday. It was kind of better than when we were together because we would just fight, you know?
Oh, Adam.
Those jokes went over real well.
Yeah,
You're having with her a week before going off to marry a stranger.
My attitude was I'm not going to stop living my life, going up to essentially an experiment with someone I've never met before. I just didn't feel the need to be faithful to someone I didn't even know.
In the bin. In the bin. Mel's line of the season.
Yeah, that's probably the
For
best
the
line.
bin? I can't remember.
In the bin.
For the bin, in the bin. Something,
thing.
Some sort of
something
bin
about a fucking
comment,
bin.
yeah.
I like Melinda.
I do too.
I think she's great.
You know what?
Melinda.
I think
Yeah,
Melinda has rightfully earned the respect that she's been given this year.
Yes.
Because unlike a lot of people in the experiment, even though it was pointed at me, largely her sort of vitriol, Melinda stood for something.
Yeah.
She went against what she saw was bad behavior.
And that's,
And for that, I will always respect her.
And that was like,
Yeah.
I was the only person in our season that did the exact same thing with one thing.
Yeah.
Right? And yeah.
And
I've watched the show, and again, because I'm not personally attached to the outcome of the show so much, I've watched the show and I'm like, yeah, Melinda, get him.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
I'm with the audience.
Yeah.
And
You
that
know what I mean?
behavior. So you watching that and seeing the way that the language that you use, the way that it was, and I hate talking about the edit, but the music, the way it's cut up, looking at the other people's reactions, all of that comes together and it lends towards you being cocky, up
Well, I mean,
yourself,
obviously.
a bit of an like an
You
asshole.
can't edit.
Yeah.
You can't edit what he said. He said it.
No,
he said I had a better time without her.
100% I said
Yeah,
it,
he's like,
right?
I had.
But
a
I
drink.
mean, yeah, he was
But what it
being a
doesn't
smart ass.
He was.
Number one.
Yeah.
I was.
Fucking huge smart ass.
That was me being like sarcastic and cheeky.
And you can't in that
and it
environment,
did not
mate.
come across well. So I've
Well,
got to
no.
own that. I made a bad judgment. I should have read the room and I should have taken it very seriously. That was my first commitment ceremony. I'd never been in one
Yeah.
before.
Oh, yeah.
You
I
came
didn't-
in
I didn't
very,
realize-
very cocky. You were
Yes.
like, I know this shit. I know this stuff.
And
back
I
to
tell you what, the
front.
viewers don't like cockiness.
No.
They do not like it. And I mean, you know that now.
Yeah.
And that's why I remember us watching this going, this fucking Harrison.
First
This
commitment ceremony,
bloke.
though. The thing is, the first commitment ceremony. Now that we've watched and been a part of it, we know that that's a really crucial time of your, like, what the
Character building.
but also everyone's first impression, right? It's the first serious conversation that you're sharing with everyone, not only about your relationship but you. And like that's the first time the globe is going to be making an opinion or forming a
Yes.
judgment on you. And yours was, I'm a fucking smart ass. I've had a better time without my wife and it's been great.
Correct.
And everyone's like, what
Who the
is
fuck's
this
this
dude
guy?
doing?
Yeah, what a
Like,
douche.
why is he here?
Yeah, I watched it and I just took it all with a grain of salt because I'm like, I could clearly see what I was trying to convey, which is like, yeah, this is terrible, but I'm just trying to like make light of it. I'm just trying to like lift the mood a little bit. Should have read the room. Wrong time to be cracking jokes. Like I get that. I've got to own that. I said those things. There was actually a worse joke, much, much worse, that I was dreading coming on TV.
What was the joke?
Well, I said, this is so bad.
So you want to repeat it?
Come
I
on, what's he
said,
got to lose at this
Oh,
point?
if you think these jokes went over bad, wait for this.
Yeah.
So they asked, they're like, so why didn't you take it seriously coming into the show? And I said, Mel asked a question, and I said, well, Mel, I've been cast for another show before this, and it fell through. And they said the reason they didn't pick me was because I was too ruggedly handsome and masculine. And I said, and Mel, unfortunately, that's something I have to live with now. And obviously,
Aren't you glad
it
that
was
didn't air?
Oh my
obviously,
God,
it was sarcastic, right? Obviously, I was taking the piss. But I was like, I said to my mates, I was like, when the first commitment ceremony comes out, I'm going to get dragged through the streets. Like,
Yeah, like
be
no one would have
yeah.
found that funny.
But because I did.
I
Because I was
understand.
so obviously taking the piss.
Like, I get that's your sense of humor. Trust me,
Yeah.
I've got mates that are like, that I've sat here, I've got some guy mates that are exactly the same.
Yes,
but the thing
guys.
is, I don't actually find them funny. Like my mates who are like that, I'm like, dude, shut the fuck up, bro.
Yeah,
like,
but if you watch a Ryan Reynolds or a Will Ferrell
Yes.
movie, it's hilarious.
Yes.
Yes,
right?
exactly.
Yeah.
But when we're watching reality TV and when it comes to relationships, people are going to not
Yes.
see it like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you've got to remember who who the demographic is that watches it. It's predominantly female.
Yes.
And they don't want to watch some up himself, cocky. They want to see that guy get torn down. And that's what the production's given them this year. They have gotten the alpha male who has been completely shredded. And there is women at home going, yes. And turning to their husbands and going, you do that. You say stuff like that. You're like him.
Yeah.
Like that's the demographic for the show.
Exactly.
So I get the edit.
Yeah.
I understand why. It's got to be commercial and they've got to make a profit.
It's funny though, because then you get people like my dad watching it who just turned 60 this year, and he watches it and goes, he sees Duncan crying and goes, where the fuck did they find these blokes? He sees Josh, supposedly not wanting to fuck his wife, and my dad goes, are you kidding me? Like, that's never going to happen. But I want to play another moment, actually. This is the red flag moment. You're wearing a red fucking shirt, and you are a walking red flag. And Claire, I did rate this moment. Let's play this.
I'm saying that, like, I've fallen for someone and I don't see a future.
How can you say you've fallen for her, but then you're sitting there saying it's over?
You are literally the loudest mouth in here with the worst relationship.
Where's the lie?
Do you know what you need to do? You need to take off that shirt and stick it on a pole and wave it around, because you're a giant red flag.
You can see me literally biting my tongue in this scene, like going, don't fucking say it, don't fucking say it.
I mean, what you said about Claire, though, where's the lie? Like, you're in the worst fucking relationship.
Much, much worse.
I can imagine.
But I was always very, very aware that there's cameras in the room. It's a national television show, and punching down on a woman is not going to look very good. Even though I think Claire did the wrong thing in the experiment, I'm sure in real life she's a lovely person. In the experiment, absolute, like, whatever.
But I understand Claire's stance here, and I get what she's saying and everything, but also
I have a question.
Can I talk about?
Hang on, I have a question. Yeah. So she's saying you're red flag, right? All the girls have this opinion on you.
Not all the girls.
Okay, who?
Oh.
Who liked you?
I think
in there.
Not on the show, but like I found out after the show. I think Melinda wanted to call out my behavior, but I think deep down she liked me. And deep down I liked Melinda as well. I love a boss bitch, and I love the fact that she was calling me out.
We could see that you got on. I could see that as well.
And
Melinda
I can understand.
is fiercely intelligent. Do not underestimate
Melinda.
Melinda.
No way. I love her.
Don't.
I think she's fucking amazing.
But my question
Evelyn as well. She's fun. Taylor, great chick.
I think Evelyn's great too. But what I think is in the experiment, and what we're all seeing, is all these women are like calling you red flag. They're all calling you out for being a narcissistic gaslighter, all this stuff. And
well, the girls up until that point were all Team Bronte.
Right.
Yeah.
But
until they knew that she was a liar.
But so that's where I'm getting at. At this point in the experiment, you're saying at dinner parties and stuff, you've called her out on her lies and whatever. And then what do the girls think? Like, at what point did they start to see? You have to remember
that the girls were always very aware, from what I've been told, that going against the girl code, they all got matching tattoos. Like, some of them got matching tattoos.
Yeah, and they left a lot of people out though of getting matching tattoos.
Yeah, so they were like, girl
that's your number one wrong thing, Dull.
Yeah, some girls were actually came out of a commitment ceremony. They were very upset that they weren't invited.
Oh, yes. No, that's what I'm saying.
Wait, did they get tats during filming?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
So even though in the group there might have been a bit of a fraction, it was still two groups of girls.
Yes.
That all had. These girls were willing to die on a hill for each other.
Fucking weird.
So
when you've just
Claire
met these people.
and Bronte were on that hill, right, up until the couples retreat, where Claire actually said, and I didn't see it until the reunion. Claire made a comment to Bronte that really pissed her off. She goes, it's like you're eating out of Harrison's ass. And then she goes, blah, blah, blah. It was hilarious. The only time I've actually found Claire funny, the entire thing, right? And it just pissed Bronte off. That's why Bronte told me in drips and drabs through the experiment about Claire, because she knew that I was the only one that would stand up to her.
And you'd be the only one that had actually come out and say shit. And which you did.
Jesse has openly admitted that he was too afraid to approach Claire about this. But one thing I do fundamentally disagree with the audience, the experts, and production on, the one thing I fundamentally disagree about that interaction between myself and Claire is I do not think that that's a deflection. Like, if you, say Ella, are attacking me about my relationship and I fire back, that's a mutual exchange. If Dom's attacking me about my relationship and then I go, oh, what about Ella? That's a deflection.
Yeah.
Yes.
It was me versus Claire.
Yeah,
That's
you're
not
right.
deflecting. That's a mutual exchange of information between two people. And so to call it a deflection, it's become this meme now that all you do is gaslight and deflect. Well, no, I took someone head on. That's what you do in an argument, right? And the next thing is the gaslighting. That is purely down to editing. I know what gaslighting is. I know that if I said something that wasn't true or tried to convert Bronte's idea of what happened and twist her view on reality, I knew that that's mental manipulation. And I knew that if I did that, I would have gotten crucified. So I was always very careful about words and the power that they have. And you even see they left a lot out from the dinner with Kira and Bronte.
Oh, yeah.
But the point I was making is Bronte has said, I'd move for love. I'd move for the right relationship. These kind of empty platitudes. And they didn't give me any reassurance. I never heard from Bronte's mouth, I want to move for you. I want this relationship with you.
And this is what you said.
And so
when we
I
were
was always
it.
feeling like that's a huge difference.
Yeah.
Right?
It's like, she'd moved to Sydney for the beaches. She'd moved to
Yes.
Sydney for
her
the
career.
shopping. Exactly.
You know?
I always felt like
maybe she already wanted to move to Sydney.
I always felt like
maybe she wanted to move to Sydney.
The two different statements convey a largely different meaning.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so I really feel cheated by a lot of the show when they edit out that particular context or me explaining it. Because really you get like this kind of like, is he just picking on words to gaslight her? When in reality, words have a lot of meaning. And we really saw that in Josh's relationship. Melissa dragged Josh down with words like, I wanted a strong man. I wanted a protector. Those words, whilst to me would have had no meaning because I'm like, well, I am.
Yes.
To Josh, they broke him.
Yeah. That was, look.
That was hard
That
to
was
watch.
harsh. And I think she knows that now. And I mean, a little too late, but also a bit fucked up.